Hey everyone, it's Ten Types, and recently on the channel, I've been obviously and unsurprisingly talking about the newer Pokemon TCG cards. Like this year, I've been talking about most of the cards that have released, this year. That is not surprising. And unfortunately, I think this is unfortunate, and I've, seen a lot of comments about it, obviously on like my YouTube channel and just in general, and people generally agree that the sets recently, specifically within the Mega era, have not been super good. They've been bad, right? They've been pretty bad. And this isn't necessarily. Is it a massive issue? I don't know. I've talked about this in the past, and as I said, I've seen comments about it, and people, for the most part, think that it's kind of slowing the metagame down in terms of changing. So this means, well, I mean, if we look at the most recent regional, at the time of recording this, I believe, I don't think there were two this past weekend. I don't keep track of regionals all the time, but this one, look at the metagame. Let's be honest, we all know what it's going to look like, right? It's Dragapult. Dragapult is by far the most played deck. It's not really close. Yes, Dragapult isn't over half in the metagame, but it's crazy. If we look online, if we split decks up, Dragapult is the most played deck. It's kind of close-ish. If we combine decks, then Dragapult's like so far above second place here. And if you look at the other decks that are relatively highly played, these decks aren't that good. Let's be honest. They are like okay, but they're not. Certainly, Mega Ninja isn't that good. And I'll be talking about Mega Ninja in this video. It's fun, it's cool, and it can do some legitimately powerful stuff. But it's not. It's not that good. I was about to say it's not, and it's no Dragapult. In terms of power level, in terms of what it actually does, it's actually very similar to Dragapult EX, but unsurprisingly, then it's worse than Dragapult because it's hard to be better than Dragapult, and I'm not looking for Pokemon to be printing cards that are like better than Dragapult, really. But Mega Ninja is certainly not there. And I mean, the third deck is Slowking. Yeah, Slowking is cool and fun and can do some real nasty stuff. And got some new cards as well from the new set, or got like mainly one new card, the new Metagross, which is um fine. It's not bad, but it's not broken. And so this deck can do some really cool stuff. It's also not the most consistent. It's been, I don't know if laughed at is the term I'd use there, but obviously it's not the it's not the best deck, right? I'll just leave it at that, and you can kind of look it down the list here. And again, there are some decent decks here, I suppose, but they're all kind of in this middle tier of mediocrity, I'd say, to just being like bad. I mean, win rate isn't everything, but Mega Ninja's win rate ain't looking super good. Admittedly, it's because it's newer, and people do tend to play newer stuff, but the win rate will then look a little lower. Long story short, though, the meta is supposed to look like Dragapult, and a big part of that, or at least a part of that, is because Pokemon isn't printing too many powerful cards in sets. That being said, it doesn't mean that all the cards in the sets are bad, and even if some cards are good, they can help out Dragapult, and I will actually be talking about some of those in today's video. The main two cards from Perfect Order and Chaos Rising. When I am saying sets this year, I'm not really talking about Ascended Heroes. Ascended Heroes did release this year internationally. In Japan, though, it essentially released last year. There's some kind of weird stuff with Ascended Heroes. Honestly, there's a lot of weird stuff about Ascended Heroes. Also, when I'm taking into account the Ascended Heroes cards, when I talk about this set, I'm talking about the cards that are new to the game. I will say Pokepad is very good. When I'm talking about Pokepad as well, I talk about it as a card in Ascended Heroes, not as a new card in Perfect Order, because it's not new to the game in Perfect Order. Admittedly, Pokepad is very good. It is honestly arguably the best card in the game. I wouldn't say it's the best card in the game. I would say the best card in the game is by far Lily's Determination, but it's probably card 3. I don't know. It's very, very good. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on ranking, just the top 10 cards. Leave it in the comment section. I think that's a really interesting debate. I like to make videos about it. It is sometimes splitting hairs, but it is interesting there. And so that card is very good, right? And a card having a top 10 card or a set having a top 10 card is good. And again, Ascended Heroes does have that. Ascended Heroes also has, I will say Mega Frostlass EX has legitimately been very good. It's a card I underrated some. And it's a card that's been good, and honestly one of my favorite cards to play in the current metagame. So you do have some decent stuff in Ascended Heroes. You have a lot of hot trash and mostly reprints, right? This has mostly reprints. And again, a lot of really bad cards like Registeel EX. Last time I was like, yeah, you got new cards like Regirock EX, which someone was like in the comment section that I forgot that OG Rocky X wasn't new because it's so bad, which it's pretty bad here. So and generally, that's what you're looking at with this end here. I just didn't want to mention that before we really dived into things, but I'm not really counting that here. And it's also, it's not that good in terms of new stuff either. But Perfect Order has the main new card of Meowth X, again, ignoring Pokepad there, which we'll talk about Meowth X. And I do think Meowth X has been disappointing, as I'll get to. I don't think Meowth X is a bad card. It's obviously a good card. It sees a lot of play in some ways, I might say it's a little overrated, but I don't know. I mean, it's obviously very good. As I said, I'm not going to sit here and say it's bad. It is a card that, helps at Drag Pull EX some as well. Speaking of, Special Red Card also is kind of similar. Special Red Card is a card that's been seeing play and is good. It's been seeing play in Dragon Pull as well as other decks. So it's, I say Meowth X Special Red Card I describe as kind of pseudo staples. I was expecting them to end up in that role. And in some sense, I think they have ended up in that role, but I also think they haven't been as impactful as maybe I was hoping. And while they are played a bunch, I haven't played too much with Special Red Card. I'll get to that in a second. But pretty much they haven't been as impactful as I was expecting. I've started to cut them for that reason. They can definitely be quite good, though. I will also mention Special Red Card is a card that your opponent now has to play around, affecting them because they're playing around it. But forcing them to play around it, you don't actually have to play it in your deck to make them play around it, which is kind of funny, unless it's open deck list in like an online tournament or something like that. Your opponent will be playing around Special Red Card generally more so. Special Red Card will allow you to, hurt something like Alakazam, or I was going to say something like that. I don't know what the other deck like Alakazam would be in this case, but Special Red Card is still a good card, but it can be a good card or it can like change the game while not being played in some sense. That's a little weird, and I don't think that actually really matters too much for this, but it is something worth mentioning, which is funny. But let's look at the other cards first in this set. So Perfect Order, you look at trainers and special energy first, I think, in terms of looking at good stuff. There's Judge as well. Judge, I guess, is, to me, just a good card. I'd say it's honestly, I think it might be better than Special Red Card, and also I think it might be better than Meowth X as well. But I don't know. I mean, it's a good card, and I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But it's also kind of a reprint. It's kind of weird because with Judge, we saw that it was like about to rotate, but it essentially didn't rotate is what happened. It was not reprinted with a new regulation mark in Destined Rivals, so the previous printing was G regulation mark in Scotland Violet base set there. So that is something kind of weird there, honestly. That's why I don't count Judge. That's why I don't count like a Boss as a card of the Mega era. I guess I count it as a card of the Sword and Shield era. It's kind of weird to think about there. And arguably Judge is a card that is from the set that is good. Also something like Crushing Hammer I think would have rotated. Things like that. So you got some like generic kind of staples like Energy Search as well. Again, I don't think like people are sitting here saying Energy Search is crazy. I do actually play it quite a bit right now in my main deck. But you got these like generic fine / good cards. Again, Pokepad you could chuck in there as well. I talked about that a bunch before, but you got those types of cards, which is fine. But then you look at the actual new cards, and I guess Telepathic Psych Energy is quite good. Like theoretically, I mean, you look at it in Alakazam, which is a good deck. Wait, I didn't actually look at this list before recording this video either. That won the most recent tournament. Apparently plays Dedenne and LGM, which is actually really interesting. And then on top of that, it runs for Nighttime Mind. Okay, honestly, I'm like saying Nighttime Mind is good, and seeing it do well here, I'm really happy about that. But anyways, we see that generally you're not running too many psychic Pokemon. I mean, we see the 4 Abras, we also see Dedenne and LGM. If we look at like another list here, we see that this one is it is running the Dedenne, not running the LGM there, and we see this third list here is the same as the second list we looked at. This fourth one also is. I do want to find someone else's list. Here we go. This one is also running the Dedenne. I just wanted to like look over that a little bit. But you're not seeing tons of psychic Pokemon. You're not really seeing, I was gonna say psychic support Pokemon. They're just your draw. Alakazam is both draw and support there, but it is just one line you're looking for consistently. The idea of Telepathic Psychic Energy is you already are playing some Psychic Pokemon. You're looking for even more Psychic Pokemon consistently throughout the course of the game. And yes, getting more Abras is good, but I mean, your second Telepathic Psychic Energy is going to be kind of meh. Your first one is going to be probably pretty good there, to be honest, though. Then we look at this list here. Okay, I saw it was Lily's Clefairy. I was expecting Lily's Clefairy with like Oirupon and Kangaskhan. Not this, but anyways, telepathic psychic energy is like good with Lily's Clefairy EX, but again, you have like Lily's Clefairy EX and Latias EX, and it's just kind of meh. It really shines in a deck like a deck with Dusknoir, which again is your support, or not like not an attack reserve for the ability, and then like Slotty EX as well. And then Mega Dancy EX, Liz Clefairy EX is these like potential attacking Pokemon. You have so many options, so much power out of telepathic psychic energy. Long story short, this card is really good, but the partners for it are just okay. Or rather, the synergy with the partners is just okay. Again, some of the synergy is really amazing with some of the weaker partners, or has weaker synergy with some of the stronger partners. So it's a good card, but it's not some crazy good card there. And then again, we'll talk about Meowth EX, but looking at the other Pokemon, I've also talked about the Megas aren't super good in general. Mega Starmie EX is okay. Being completely honest, this card is also kind of just a bad Dragapult. I mean, it's different, obviously, but Jetting Blow reminds me a lot of Dragapult EX, and the more I played with Mega Starmie, the more I've thought, like, yeah, this card it's kind of like a bad Dragapult. Again, being a bad Dragapult doesn't mean you're a bad card. Dragapult is I mean, recently I made a video ranking the top decks of the modern era, which essentially since me and then also Uncommon Fossil, because we were podcast together, have been playing a bunch, and we ranked Dragapult quite highly there. So being worse than that doesn't mean it's bad. Also in that video, people were like, some people, I was to say, were confused by it. I mean, some people clearly didn't watch the video and then were confused, which I guess checks out. I mean, that makes sense because if you watch this video and then we're like confused by it, but you didn't actually watch any of it, then that would make sense. But yeah, Dragapult, long story short, really good. So being a little worse than Dragapult isn't terrible, I guess. But also, if you want to play a deck, yes, people like to try different things, but I mean, if there was a Dragapult that did 200 damage, then there's also a Dragapult EX that did 200 damage, and there's a Dragapult EX that did 180 damage. Yes, the Dragapult EX that did 180 damage would be like probably pretty good still, but if they were both, you had the option to play both. You'd always choose the one that does 200 damage because it's just better. Even if you want to do something weird and out there, people like to play good cards, even if they like to play fun cards as well. Long story, I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little off track here, but Mega Starmie is just not super good or super unique at what it does. If Dragapult wasn't in the game, I think Mega Starmie would be a bit more interesting. Also, I will say Mega Starmie was one of these decks that kind of came out of nowhere ish. It was not really talked about much before it came out in Japan. And then it played, and it actually, if you didn't know this, it surpassed Dragapult in its plays early on. I believe that is the only deck since rotation to surpass Dragapult at any point. It was pretty early on, then fell off pretty heavily, and then when it came out internationally, people unsurprisingly played it more, which is what we're seeing, by the way, with Chaos Rising and Mega Ninja. I'll talk about that a tiny bit more here. Mega Ninja is currently the second most played deck on Play Limitless. It's not the second best deck in the game. It's okay. It's not a bad deck, but I'd say it's pretty similar to Mega Starmie EX, and the more people are playing it, it's somewhat similar in what it does, and it's also kind of like a worse Dragapult. In some ways, it could be a better Dragapult, but not really. Let's be honest. But I mean, it's a water Mega. They obviously both have that going for them. Mega Ninja EX and Mega Starmie EX, and then Mega Ninja EX also is a card that is, the kind of the poster child of the set in some sense, and is cool, and people are playing because it's cool and stuff. But it's okay, it's all right, but it's not amazing there. So you look at the megas, and they're kind of in that boat. Some of them are just not very good. Honestly, a lot of them are not very good. Mega Zygarde, I suppose Mega Zygarde is technically the face of Perfect Order. This card is quite bad. It's really funny, but it's pretty terrible. And you got some others which are okay. Don't really deserve that much talking about. Looking at Chaos Rising, I always like to hype up new stuff, but the megas in the set aren't super good. In general, I think there's something with Mega Dragology, maybe as a tech option with a first attack. Funnily enough, I overheard someone talking about this at a local game store. They were saying that like Corrosive Liquid, I didn't hear the full conversation, but they're talking about it, and obviously, guess there's special energy here, but they're saying like, yeah, but the most played special energy. I don't know if they said this, but this is what I'm thinking about. Most played special energy are probably gonna be like Mist Energy, or certainly something like a Rocky Fighting Energy. Those are some of the most played, and this doesn't actually affect those because they're immune to the effects there. So that's a thing. It's just a thing. I was gonna say it's funny or interesting, but let's be honest, it's not really any of those things. It's just a card there. And so Chaos Rising, unfortunately, just doesn't have super good megas or perfect. Honestly, the megas in general aren't super good. You look at Mega Lucario EX. I said this card was super mid, and yeah, I mean, the deck is not bad. The deck is pretty good, but it's the pieces around it. The more I played with it, the more I realized, and played against it. I honestly haven't played that much Bank Lucario since it's come out because it's kind of boring, in my opinion. But I know some people like it. It's not like super boring. It can do some cool stuff as well, but the deck is, Ludo's really good, and Premium Power Pro and Fighting Young. These cards are like super good. I legitimately think they're amazing, and then the other stuff's like fine. So Mega Lucario is fine there, and that's probably the premier Mega. There's also Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan EX is also pretty good. Definitely that's clearly the best utility Pokemon there, and actually is getting a new card, a new tool in the next set as well. I will say I haven't really talked about it so far, but Abyssai / Pitch Black I do think is better than the other sets. I've talked about it in the past a lot. I always like to hype stuff up though and be like, yeah, this one's going to be different, and here we are talking about Chaos Rising. So, anyways, we got the regular EXs as well. As I said, Meowth EX is pretty good. In general, on average, the regular EXs are not very good. I think all the other ones are pretty like borderline unplayable in terms of like serious play. Destroy EX has something interesting to it that is kind of playable. I don't think it's very good though. Then looking at the single prizes, you do have Barbarical, which is like decent, I suppose. I guess with like Okidogi there, the deck's fine, I guess. And that's it. I suppose some of the other trainers are okay as well. Tarragon is all right. I do think Naveen is okay as well. I haven't actually played with it, but I gotta assume it's okay, maybe. And then it says something like Judge, Crushing Hammer. Those cards are good. I'm not counting them here. That's how I count stuff for sets like Mega Evolution, just all sets, but I did want to mention that. Then look at Chaos Rising. Again, the Megas are not very good. The two prizers are also not very good. Beedrill EX is okay. It might be the best of the decks out of any of these sets. I'm not sure. It's not super good though, right? It's okay. It's fine. You're able to do pretty big damage. It's a little hit or miss, but it's an alright deck there. You look at the single prizes, which there's a Ninetales. The Ninetales isn't that good. I did get this card wrong though. No one corrected me. I like got it wrong a bunch of times because I just misread it. I think I thought it like it was a Sableye from Typical Forces. They're not the same card. But anyways, this card is a card I misread, but it's not very good. And speaking of, all of the cards are, let's be honest, not very good. I don't think any of the single prizes are good. There's Patrat. Patrat is okay. This card it's seen some play, I guess. I'm not sure how much play this has seen. I've been playing online some. Unsurprisingly, I haven't really seen people play this, and I do play some Monkey Dory. So I mean, I don't think the card's super good. I'm also a bit lower in Monkey Door than others, but it's fine, I suppose, I guess. And then you look at the trainers here, and the special energies. Special energies are, the best one is Magnetic Metal Energy. This card theoretically is good, except the synergy it has with other cards is terrible. So that's something there. In terms of actual practicality, it's quite bad. But the effect is good. And then you look at the other ones, which are just not good. Really, you could play them at some point. They're not like unplayably bad, but their upside's pretty bad. And then you look at the other trainers, again, other than Special Red Card. I do think that Prism Tower is decent and cool and stuff. I haven't played this card yet, but I assume it has some good uses. And looking at the next set with Abyssai, I do think Prism Tower is legitimately. I guess while I'm here, you should probably, if you're looking to buy cards, you should probably buy Prism Tower. This isn't like sponsor anything. Prism, I actually don't buy many cards either. Being completely honest, I mostly play online or proxy. But Prism Tower is going to be better in the next set with Abyssai, with the deck Shadow or Phantom Hide or whatever, Ghost Veil, that deck where you want Pokemon to discard. Prism Tower is probably a 4 in that deck. I haven't 100% been paying attention to the lists, but I know that it is very important there. And it's like one of the 2 ways to discard cards, or one of the 3 ways. There's also supporters, but you got Prism Tower, Ultra Ball, and then some supporters. So you got those cards there, and outside of that, I don't think the set has any particularly good Pokemon. Again, of course, I'd love to hear stuff in the comment section on it, but like on any decks you've been playing that are from the new set that are cool. I guess Metagross is okay as well. Metagross in Slowking is like pretty decent, I guess. And then we need to talk about the other 2 cards, which are Meowth EX and Special Red Card. Meowth EX, this card is, let's see, get a supporter on play from hand, and this is good. You need to probably use an Ultra Ball. Well, you don't need to use an Ultra Ball to find it if you're playing a deck that plays it in high counts. Let me see if I can find a list here. I mean, Raging Bolt here, playing it as a 3 of, you're more likely to start it, which sucks. It is the worst starter in the game as far as I'm aware right now. Obviously, that's a little subjective in deck to deck, but it's a pretty bad starter there because you can't use it, and then it's a liability as well. So that's unfortunate. But Meowth EX, generally, you're like searching for a lot of the time, which is like fine, I guess. But it does two things. I've said this before, mainly two things. If you're in a dead hand situation, it gets you out of that dead hand. That is very good. And yeah, definitely worth mentioning there. But then also, if you need boss for game, it also does that, or something similar to that, like maybe a Crispin for game or something like that. I've never heard anyone say that. Maybe I've heard someone say that. I don't know, but monster game is obviously going to be good and wins you the game, right? So Meowth X being able to do that is good, but this card obviously isn't. It has some like downsides as well. You need to spend some resources to get it. That's not terrible. Like any Pokemon, you need to search out or just like have in hand. So I'm not going to bash it really for that. But if you're in a bad hand, like honestly, having an Ultra Ball gets you out of that hand a bunch, even without Meowth EX. It being a liability, I really feel a lot. And I mean, honestly, when I see people, when I was playing it, I just like wouldn't play it. I essentially just never played it, so I started cutting it. And then when I played against it, what if you see people play it? Sometimes it's for like sometimes you're already super far ahead and it like closes the game out faster with boss frame, but it's not required to win. Sometimes people are just like super far behind, need to get out of a dead hand, play Meowth EX, and then they still lose, and they're in a worse position than they would be if they had the supporter normally, because they have the Meowth EX in play, and they still lose. So in that situation, yes, Meowth EX like helps you. In both those situations, Meowth EX does help you, but they're either turning bad games to slightly not as bad, but still pretty bad games, or good games to even better games, but you're still probably going to win anyways. So they're not really changing outcomes of games very much there. And then you got like that somewhere in the middle. Honestly, I've seen a lot of people just like throw down Meowth EX and then just get a supporter and then not play it because they already played a supporter or something like that. So that's kind of weird. Not sure why people do that, but there are times to do it, I suppose, like thinning or something. But generally, I wouldn't recommend it. And people do it kind of randomly as well. So it's not bad. Those situations are meaningful, and especially there are times when you have a completely dead hand. You go from a dead hand to actually being in the game and legitimately competing, and sometimes winning those games. So it's very good there. I'm not saying this card is bad. I'm just saying it's been a little more disappointing than I was expecting. I was expecting it to feel like this like true staple, this card that I like want to play all the time. And I haven't been doing that. And playing against it, I haven't been finding it to be this like hugely impactful card. I found it to be somewhat impactful, right? I'm not going to sit here and say it hasn't been, but it hasn't been as much as I was expecting. Moving on to special red card, somewhat similar stuff to say about it. This card, obviously, it is newer. I haven't played with it as much, and certainly haven't played with it as much. I haven't played against it as much either. This card, you can only play at the like later stages of the game. Being completely honest, and live, some of the games are kind of one-sided. Sometimes people scoop early on as well, so people aren't playing with it as much as you might in person. It is good for disruption, obviously, and disruption is good. It's not like super nasty disruption. It's a little better than Judge, but Judge isn't that good of a card. It's fine. I was talking about it earlier and saying it's one of the better cards from these sets, but it's not some like crazy good card either. A special red card is disruptive, but I feel like most time we can draw out of it. I don't know. I mean, people play Dracloak, right? And they just like get out of it, and it doesn't really matter. Or like Dudunsparce. Dudunsparce is a super counter to this card. Dudunsparce isn't a super good card in general. It's okay. It's not a super good draw engine. Again, it's okay. I've gotten a little higher into Dudunsparce than I have in the past, but it's not great. But it is legitimately great if you can just hold on to it, and then your opponent plays hand disruption, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to draw like 10 cards, and then now like you should be fine, right? So special red card has felt not super meaningful so far. Definitely a card though. I mean, it's not bad. I think it's an all right card, and it has been seeing play, definitely some. But as time goes on, obviously I'll have a better idea, and so will other people. But in talking about it with other people and hearing what other people have been saying, I haven't really heard that much about it, right? Like, there are people saying like, oh yeah, this is the best card in the set, and it is the best card in the set, I suppose. But same thing with Meowth EX. They're good cards. They're not. I wouldn't say either is top 10. I wouldn't say either is super close to top 10. Maybe Meowth is, but I definitely wouldn't put it there. Meowth is probably top 10 Pokemon, but actually I think Uncommon Fossil and I were talking about Meowth EX and like ranking the top 10 Pokemon. He had it quite high, um, and I did not have it super high. I did have it in the top 10. But overall, I just feel like these cards have been from these sets a little disappointing. I was hoping for a little more and honestly expecting a little more. Like I like to hype stuff up, right? But I kind of know that each set is going to be a little more disappointing than people are, hyping up to be, which makes sense. But I thought Special Red Card and Meowth EXs were going to be like super impactful, but they've been good, right? They've been pretty good cards, but I felt a little disappointed by them. Maybe my hopes are just too high, but I feel like it's just like, oh, I need draw the cloak. And you still got Fez, and Fez is still good. Honestly, I've been playing less Fez as well, so maybe it's just me and my deck building and gameplay has been changing a little. I don't know, but hope you all enjoyed. Of course, tell me in the comment section your thoughts on this as well. If I'm just being just wrong on these cards. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing with these, and I'll realize that sooner or later. But I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe. Also, huge shout outs to my YouTube members. But honestly, just liking and subscribing and watching the video, it really does mean a ton to me, and I do appreciate it. But I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.